What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports here to give you the edge for this NBA 5-game slate on DraftKings. Cannot wait to break it down. We have a 5-game NBA slate. Not too much pending injury news, but just enough to keep it interesting, and I'll be breaking it all down for you right now. Last night was the big 9-game slate. I actually kind of like the 5-game slates in comparison to the 9-game slates. Overall, we had a lot of success. I'll actually pull up the Discord chat and go over some success. We had a $100 and an $800 here from Untouchable. Good lineup there. It was very small. No, it wasn't a small GP goal. It's 44 people. $100 and an $800. That's still a fantastic ROI. And then Elite here, our coach, had some fantastic success here as a single entry player. Did find leverage there on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Good success there. And then we had a close second place takedown to a long-term member, one of our mods here in our Discord chat, $1,500 and won. I don't know how much that entry was. It was probably about $50, but wow, that's a lot of emojis there. Really like that. And then we also had some more success here, some more single entry success. It looks like everybody played some single entry, mixed in with some 20 entry max here, $16 turned into 22. As you guys can see, screenshots sent all the way around. So a lot of good stories there entered in the Discord chat. If you guys want to sign up for one of our memberships, only $10 a week gives you access to all of our favorite cash plays, GPP plays, leverage potential, good pivot spots, ownership projections, actual projections. All that is custom in our cheat sheets. And not only that, we have a partnership with Fantasy Cruncher. So if you sign up for one of our partnered memberships, $20 a month gives you access to all of our regular stuff, but $30 a month gives you access to all of our cheat sheets and leverage sheets, plus a $20 additional voucher to any Fantasy Cruncher product. We are one of 3 major companies being partnered with Fantasy Cruncher. Also, before I forget, I want to show you guys what we've been offering for free on our website. So if you haven't been a part of our community just in terms of being a free member, go ahead and head over to our website now, sign up for the free membership, and you guys have access to all of these articles, these free articles I post every single morning. This is kind of a recap of what I'll be covering here in the video. I give you a condensed player pool of my favorite overall plays, the high tier, medium tier, and low tier players. And again, this is all for free, so you guys just have to head over there. I also will be posting all this information to Twitter, so I'll tweet out the link to all of our articles. So if you just give us a follow on Twitter, you don't even have to become a member on our website. But just follow us on Twitter. I tweet this out every single morning. You guys can go back to this and look at the player pool that I personally have. This does change throughout the day, but this is a first look kind of cheat sheet. Another thing that we also offer, free DFS projections. This is pulled straight from our premium projections. So this is paid material. Again, it is very limited because you only get to sort by value and fantasy points. But as you can see, these are my favorite overall value plays on the slate. And these are my actual projections. You can also see minute projections provided by Fantasy Cruncher and DraftKings projections. These are our custom projections. But nonetheless, go ahead and take advantage of that. This is all free information, and I work very hard every single morning on all of these items here. But now let's go ahead and go over this injury report for this 5-game slate. We have a lot of pending injury news that can definitely shake up the slate, and also some solidified injury news that has already shaken up the slate. So let's go ahead and recap that now. The Knicks have officially stated that they are no longer going with Kemba Walker in the rotation. So guys like Alec Burks will benefit the most. They're getting projected about 32 to 33 minutes on any given night. Evan Fournier will also get a slight bump in the amount of minutes. Again, Kemba Walker was only playing about 20 minutes anyway, so it doesn't really help them that much, but the amount of usage that goes around is definitely impactful there with Kemba Walker being out. That being said, guys like Alec Burks will definitely benefit the most. RJ Barrett's questionable. Taj Gibson, Nerlens Noel, and Derrick Rose are questionable. If any one of those guys are ruled out, that's definitely going to impact the New York Knicks as a whole. I do like some of the plays already, but even more so if any one of these guys do get ruled out. With the Brooklyn Nets, we have Claxton, Duke, Joe Harris, and Kyrie Irving all still out. We've seen this picture without these guys for a little bit, so we know what this looks like. The price tags are a little bit soft in the Brooklyn Nets. We'll get to them here in a little bit. Not too much overall interest, though. The Memphis Grizzlies blew out the Sacramento Kings. That was unexpected in the last matchup, and the price tags have definitely not been reflected enough to overcompensate for them blowing them out. They are still without Ja Morant, so a lot of interest here in this Memphis Grizzlies team, and overall with this game, because Toronto Raptors are still without Anunoby, Birch, and Dragic. If Gary Trent is ruled out, a ton of minutes to go around some of these guard players, especially with Mikailu. So yes, we will be paying attention here to the Toronto Raptors, and more so if Gary Trent is ruled out. With the Golden State Warriors, not too much going on there. Draymond Green is questionable, but he's leaning more towards probable. Of course, if he is ruled out, that will shake up the slate, but he's probably going to play. Nothing really going on there with the Suns. Kelly Olynyk still out for Detroit. Not really impactful there because all the price tags have been adjusted to reflect that. With the Portland Trailblazers, Norman Powell is questionable. If he is ruled out, that will definitely impact impact the usage around this team and minutes. So guys like McCollum does get they do get a nice little boost in usage. Damian Lillard does become an intriguing target as well, but more so the minutes of the backups here. Nasir Little will get a bump. Again, if Norman Powell is ruled out, we will revisit this picture, but right now we're going to assume he is going to play. Last but not least, we do have the Lakers versus Sacramento. This is the highest over-under on the slate, so a good late-night hammer here. Harrison Barnes is the only guy that's doubtful. Harkless and Rashawn Holmes, we really don't know what's gonna happen there. If they are ruled out, then yes, we have to be paying attention here to the Sacramento Kings. With the Lakers, LeBron James technically questionable. He's always questionable. If he is ruled out, then yes, we will be paying attention here to the Lakers. Not really too much to worry about there because all the price tags have been adjusted based on him being out last game. But now let's go ahead and shift our focus over here to my favorite plays on the slate. I'm going to do this a little bit differently. And the reason because I know a lot of you like this format of going through the lineup and kind of picking between the options between the point guard, shooting guards, small forwards, power forwards, and centers. The format that I've been doing on Fantasy Cruncher is I start with the highest end and I talk about every single play and whether I like them. This way it's more raw and unedited, and I just give you my overall takes here on these plays, regardless of ownership. I will recap all the ownership and the highest owned players there at the very end of this video, just so we don't miss out on that. But right now, I'm going to go over the slate and give you my overall thoughts here with the pending injury news and going team by team, game by game. So let's actually recap this now. Going first here to the Knicks versus Brooklyn. It's going to be the battle of the New York teams. Starting here at the top, Julius Randle is 9.4K, and he did get a little price reduction. He hasn't been seeing as many minutes as we're used to seeing here from Julius Randle, but if these injuries do impact him, I do think he has some high upside in terms of minutes, like guys like Taj Gibson, Nerlens Noel. If either one of those guys get ruled out, then the big rotation there is a little bit thinner. So Julius Randle, I do like, based on the price tags around him for GPPs mainly, just because I think his ownership is going to be a little bit lower. But, you know, with Kemba Walker being out of the lineup, you can only expect that does give a nice little boost here to Julius Randle. So, do you like him? I think he's a solid last piece, especially with the minute upside. If he does get over 32, 34-ish minutes there, if this game does remain competitive versus Brooklyn, which it should. Right now, the over-under is at a 216.5, and Brooklyn's only favored by 6 at home, if you even want to consider that a home game. But yeah, Julius Randle, I have some interest in, but the guy that I really want to focus on here is going to be Alec Burks. Right now, we have him projected for 32 minutes. Does get a nice little usage bump with Kemba Walker officially being out of the lineup, averaging 0.97 fantasy points per minute. If we take a look here, Kemba Walker being out, Alec Burks has a 19% usage rate, 0.97 fantasy points per minute. Does really impact the entire lineup. As you can see, a decent amount does get shifted here throughout the starting lineup. Evan Fournier is another guy that benefits, which I will get to here in a second. RJ Barrett, another guy I do have some interest here in, especially if he does see 35 plus minutes. He's technically questionable, but if he does play at $5,800, love them in the upside here with RJ Barrett and Alec Burks being out of the lineup. But these are two mid-range guys that I really, really do like. I have a lot of interest in Alec Burks and RJ Barrett. I think Alec Burks is going to be a little bit more on the chalky side. I just love their minute upside and really the Knicks as a whole. Julius Randle has some interest in, have a lot more interest here in RJ Barrett and Alec Burks. Evan Fournier is going to be more of a GPP target because he's only projected right now about 28 minutes, and that's about what he's been getting. As you can see here, bouncing around 29, 26, and ignore this 42 game, 23, 30. So yeah, I think a 28 fantasy or 28 minute projection is pretty accurate there for Evan Fournier. If additional guys do get ruled out, like Derrick Rose, then I do have a lot more interest here quickly because his minutes will get a slight bump here. But right now, don't have any interest. We're kind of pinning that news there from the New York Knicks. But right now, RJ Barrett and Alec Burks, I think I'm going to be locking in Alec Burks. Not too much is going to change there at the shooting guard position. Switching over to the Brooklyn Nets here, we have James Harden and Kevin Durant. And honestly, they're just going to be too lofty of a price tag for me as of right now. 11.3 and 11.1K. You're looking for like 70 plus points to really smash value and for them to be in the optimal. So just based on the way that lineups are coming together, really no interest in those guys outside the larger GPPs. And then also Lamarcus Aldridge here is actually showing a decent amount of ownership. He's been getting about 25 to 28 minutes a game here without Claxton in the lineup and a couple of these other bigs, and it's guaranteed minutes for him. So he's averaging 1.12 fantasy points per minute with these guys out of the lineup. I consider him a decent last piece in cash. I just don't love the minute upside there with Lamarcus Aldridge. As you can see, he did have a ceiling game here, 38.25 points, but he also played a decent amount of minutes in that game, 34. And again, we shouldn't be seeing a consistent number out of 34 minutes there for Lamarcus Aldridge. We see about 28, 29 his ceiling consistently, and that's with Bruce Brown being kind of shunned out of the lineup here from the Brooklyn Nets. So Lamarcus Aldridge, a safe last piece. I just don't like his upside there. But one upside guy I do like here is Patty Mills. He's been playing tremendous amount of minutes, and we know that Patty Mills is a shooter. I get that this isn't the highest over-under here on the slate, but at $4,800, he's been playing a tremendous amount of minutes here, playing 38, 33, 35, 34, 35 minutes his past 5 or 6 games here with these guys out of the lineup without Joe Harris in the lineup. We know that Joe Harris was in the starting lineup when he was playing. So that's the reason for Patty Mills getting all of these additional minutes. I do think Patty Mills is going to be lower owned. $4,800 does seem a little bit crazy for Patty Mills, and we know that he's not the highest usage guy here on the floor, but I do like him for GPPs, and I like his minute upside. The rest of these guys, not really too much interest in, but Patty Mills, definitely an intriguing target for GPPs. Switching over to Memphis. Memphis is very, very interesting because they did all get price bumps. I just don't necessarily think they got the price bumps they needed to get. We got to keep in mind that they blew out the Sacramento Kings last game. So the minutes that you're seeing in the box score are nothing even close to accurate. 21 minutes Dillon Brooks played last game. Jaren Jackson played 22 minutes here. Desmond Bane played less than 25. Like, all these guys played less than 25 minutes, and they all hit value. So absolutely love the Memphis Grizzlies in terms of their upside here without Ja Morant. Dillon Brooks is the priciest guy here on this team. I think he's more of a GPP option, but then you start to get into these guys that are a little bit safer. Guys like Desmond Bane at 6K, I wouldn't let that price tag scare you because he is going to consistently see 32 plus minutes. He also consistently plays minutes when Ja Morant's in the lineup. So I like the usage rate bump. If you guys actually look here at the chart, with Ja Morant off the court, Dillon Brooks does have the highest usage rate, followed by Jaren Jackson, Melton. Bane's actually 4th on the list here at 24% of offensive plays and averaging 0.97 fantasy points per minute. So I do like him from a point per dollar value perspective, and I really do like Desmond Bane. I don't know if he's going to be in my lineup, but I just love the minute upside there. One guy that's definitely going to be in my lineup is going to be Tyus Jones. He only saw 24 minutes last game, again, because of the blowout, but I just really like him here in the spot, $5,200, averaging close to 1 fantasy point per minute, and we know that he is going to be the primary ball handler here in this game. Just going down the line here, Melton's a fantastic GPP option. I just don't love the minute upside there. We only have him projected for about 25 minutes. Kyle Anderson, the exact same thing I can say for him, and also Steven Adams. Steven Adams was going nuclear in the last game, scored 31 fantasy points in like 20 minutes. Yeah, 21 minutes of against the Sacramento Kings. I know it was more so the good matchup, but he also has a good matchup here. So I do like Steven Adams. I love Kyle Anderson. I love Melton. They're all fantastic GPP options. I just don't know if I'm going to land on them if I'm playing one single lineup, but I definitely include them in your player pool. I think they also have some tremendous upside here against the Toronto Raptors. One guy I do think you need to lock in just overall is going to be Tyus Jones, and I am really on the fence here with Desmond Bane. He might end up in my lineup. Switching over to the Toronto side, these guys are also seeing a good amount of minutes. We have Anunoby out of the lineup here. We have Birch and Dragic, so there's a lot of minutes to go around this roster. Just looking up and down here, Van Vliet's been on the heater as of late, been playing tremendous minutes, playing 40, 38, 37, 39. Basically what we expect from Fred Van Vliet. So I will always like him. I don't hate him as a last piece, especially in cash if you're landing on him at $8,700. I think the ownership's going to be there. Lineup construction is not going to be that easy with all of the shooting guards and point guards here on the slate. But another guy that's seen an uptick in minutes here is going to be Siakam. Siakam's actually played 37 and 38 minutes back to back. So you got to love to see that, especially with all of these big guys out of the lineup like Anunoby, Birch, and Dragic. So gotta love the minute upside here from Siakam. I do think that price tag's a little bit scary because he hasn't been the best effectively here on the court. I'm averaging under a 1 fantasy point per minute player, which historically isn't accurate for Siakam. So again, more of a GPP play. I think you got to land on Van Vliet if you're going the safer route. But one guy that's extremely safe tonight is going to be Achua. Achua is probably going to be the chalkiest guy in the slate here, only $4,400, and I think he's just a free square tonight. At the center position, he's the most obvious play in a decent matchup versus Steven Adams. And he's actually been performing pretty well fantasy point per minute wise, averaging 0.93 fantasy points per minute since being on the court here. And you gotta love the minute upside. He's been also playing a tremendous amount of minutes, close to 30 his past couple games. 36 actually, so he's played over 30 minutes the past 2 games. And one guy we definitely have to pay attention to is going to be Mikailu. Mikailu at $3,800. If Gary Trent is ruled out. He's going to be a plug and play as well. $3,800 is way too cheap for a guy that's going to be seeing 25 plus minutes. And fantasy point per minute wise, they're going to need somebody else to shoot. And he's actually been doing very well with Gary Trent out of the lineup. And then one last guy I do want to talk about, the cheapest of the high minute players, at least the guys that are playing 35 plus minutes, is going to be Scotty Barnes. And I think he's also relatively safe. He's another guy that I love in comparison to just a minute upside, comparing him to Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane I do prefer just a little bit more, but Scotty Barnes is a very close second. Just in this game script, I really do like him here at 7K. I don't think that's too expensive. I think once we see him creep up to the 8K range, that's when you're going to start to see the ownership drastically drop for him. But 35, 37 minutes, 39 the past 3 games. Really, really love him in upside here without Anunoby in the lineup. Now switching over to the Lakers, really not too much interest in this team as a whole. I'm just going to say it. If LeBron James is ruled out, then yeah, THT becomes an intriguing target at $4,900. His price tag did drop for what it's worth, but other than that, really no interest here in the Lakers. Sacramento Kings. Fox has just been very bad to start the season, averaging under 1 fantasy point per minute here, with Harrison Barnes even off the court. These guys do have minute upside. I just think that their price tags are a little bit too scary and not the best matchup here versus the Lakers. I didn't really get the price increases here, especially since getting blown out. I get that this is an up-paced game, but you got to consider that if LeBron James does play, he's gonna slow down the pace tremendously. So I'd say if LeBron James is out, then yeah, these guys become a lot more intriguing. But just comparing the price tags and minute upside to like the Memphis Grizzlies, these guys are slightly more expensive. Like Fox is all the way up here, $8,400. Halliburton, $6,900, $6,600 for Hield. And just looking up and down the board. Again, if Holmes or some of these other players are ruled out, then yeah, I have a lot more interest. But if it is what it is right now, yeah, not too much interest here in the Sacramento Kings. At least I'm personally not prioritizing them over the Memphis Grizzlies or Toronto Raptors. Switching over to the Golden State Warriors, technically we do have Draymond Green. He has probably really no interest here in the Golden State Warriors outside of larger GPPs. Not the best matchup. Andrew Wiggins is all the way up here at $6,800. Jordan Poole only playing about 28 minutes a game, $6,500. He has to get hot pretty quick to really cover that price point. Outside of Steph Curry, because we know he can break a slate at any point, really don't have any interest here in the Warriors. Switching over to the Suns, I actually did have some interest here. Ayton's coming off 2 back-to-back pretty bad games. I don't mind him because he's still getting the minute upside here, 32, 31 minutes the past 2 games. And we saw that price tag drop from close to $8K to $7,100. I think he's definitely more of a GPP play, but I think this is a guy you could definitely take advantage of in terms of the price tag drop, and his ownership will be very, very low. And another really cheap option who's been kind of flying under the radar every single slate and kind of does pop on their sheet is Jay Crowler. He's 3.9K, which is actually the cheapest that I've seen in a very long time. He's been playing a decent amount of minutes here. 30 minutes, 29, 20. This was a blowout last game, so kind of throw that out. 25. So as long as he's seeing 25 plus minutes at a 3.9K price tag, he is a shooter. So as long as he gets hot, I don't mind him as a last piece. I definitely think he will be carrying a little bit lower of ownership because, again, this isn't the best matchup. But yeah, 3.9K, definitely don't mind him as a last piece. And then last but not least, we do have the Detroit Pistons without Olynyk. Isaiah Stewart, we do have to mention here at $4,600. I don't think he takes priority or even close to Chua at $4,400. The minute upside is just not going to be there. But really, outside of that, not considering too many other players, Cade Cunningham is a guy that did fit my builds earlier. He is shooting guard eligible, which makes it very easy. And really, it's going to be him or Jeremy Grant in my lineup. I think I'm going to end up landing on, just because one does play guard and the other plays power forward. So it really depends on my roster construction. But these guys are the bulk of this offense, and as long as they see consistent minutes, which they have been, Cunningham's been playing 30 plus minutes. Same thing with Jeremy Grant, been playing closer to 35. So honestly, Jeremy Grant's not that bad of a target whatsoever. But these guys have just been seeing so many minutes and have such a higher usage rate than the other guys on their team. It's quite evident, that this team is definitely prioritizing Cunningham and Jeremy Grant as their main offensive weapons. So love the upside there in terms of the pace of the matchup. Right now, that is a 9.5 point spread, which is actually lower than a majority of their matchups in previous games. And it's technically the lowest over under here on the slate, just because Detroit is a pretty bad team and they haven't been playing at the greatest pace. But yeah, I don't hate Cade Cunningham or Jeremy Grant as the last piece. Again, one of those two should make it into your lineup. At least they are looking to make it into mine. Definitely don't mind the matchup there versus the Portland Trailblazers. And last but not least, we do have to talk about the Trailblazers. These guys are mainly going to be GPP options. It's pending Norman Powell. If he is ruled out, then yes, I have a lot more interest here in guys like CJ McCollum. He actually gets a nice little usage bump Damian Lillard, same thing there. But right now, Nurkic at 6.4K is another guy I think that is carrying a bulk of the ownership just because of the price tag. And without Norman Powell, I think they are considering him not in the lineup. At least Fantasy Cruncher is. He's showing a decent amount of ownership. If Norman Powell is out of the lineup, it just helps him in terms of the minute upside there and in terms of usage as well. But I do think that Achua and Nurkic are going to be the chalk centers. I think that you do prioritize Achua over Nurkic. But other than that, not too much interest here outside of those two. Larry Nance is a nice little option here if Norman Powell is held out. Presents great value at $3,700, and historically he has been performing pretty well in terms of fantasy points per minute. So don't mind him as a last piece. Again, if Norman Powell is ruled out. But again, this entire picture is just pending that news. So just to kind of recap here, what I will probably be doing, assuming that these guys are in, guys like Norman Powell, Draymond Green, Rashawn Holmes here from Sacramento, I probably will be leaning more so on this Toronto game. Scotty Barnes will probably make it into my lineup. Same thing with Desmond Bane. I think you need a little bit more exposure here to this Memphis Grizzlies team. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these guys found it into my lineup. Possibly even Dylan Brooks, because he has been balling with John Morant out of the lineup, or even Jaren Jackson, as much as I hate him. But yeah, I would start my build something like this, and then the rest I would fill in with guys depending on the injury news. And then again, I think Scotty Barnes and Desmond Bane are definitely on that border of a cash/GPP option. But let's go ahead and head over to Fantasy Cruncher, where we get to see the highest owned players based on the injury news right now. Let's see if we nailed it. Achua, the highest owned at $4,400. That makes sense. Nurkic is $6,400, the second highest owned. Makes sense. Lamarcus Aldridge, I was actually pretty surprised to see his ownership on here. I do think that continues to drop. I think as the slate does progress into the day, I think Achua and Nurkic become more of an obvious play here, especially with Norman Powell being out. Alec Burks, we nailed. Sadiq Bey is a guy that's very interesting. I actually want to head back to the board here and just take a look here at his price tag. I mean, I definitely don't hate him in terms of his price tag, $5,800. He's shooting the ball only 9 times a game, it looks like, with Kate Cunningham and Jeremy Grant in the lineup. So I don't hate him as a last piece, but I do like Kate Cunningham or Jeremy Grant if you have the option to pay up for him a lot more. It just comes down to roster construction. And then I do think that some of these Portland and Toronto guys are carrying some ownership depending on the injury news right now. I think they're assuming that they are going to be ruled in. Like Gary Trent looks fantastic at $5,400 if he does play a tremendous amount of minutes. We always love the minute upside there from Gary Trent. But again, I didn't cover him because, again, he is questionable. And then the rest is pretty straightforward. Tyus Jones is my overall favorite play in the slate. Looks like he is carrying ownership. Again, don't pay attention to the 24 minutes. But that will be it, guys. That will wrap up my breakdown. Hopefully you did enjoy this breakdown. If you did, please do it with that subscription button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button for all of our future NBA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day, and let's cash.